Hey everyone, here's a question I used to ask myself a lot as a beginning artist. How do I become a better painter? Why do my paintings look so interesting? Yeah, let's call it that. Interesting. And what separates some of the best painters from those who have a ways to go? Now, I by no means think that I'm a great painter, but I've come a long way from where I started out. Those were some tough times, to say the least. Now, let's be honest. Your first few paintings probably look like absolute crap. But don't worry, because it can get better. Hopefully. Now, this video isn't about skills or techniques or even talent. I'm going to be talking about some tips any artist can do to get better over time. Now, the first tip that I'm going to give is paint when you don't want to. Yes, you heard correctly. Paint when you don't feel like painting. Now, I'll admit, I love painting, but there's those times, a lot of the time actually, when I just don't feel like painting. I'd rather do something else. And it's not like I have anything better to do. My life isn't that interesting where I'm always doing something 24/7. I just don't feel like painting. I don't feel like committing to a hours of time long project. But I make myself, and the joy I get from completing a painting trumps the procrastination of not doing it. You can quote me on this. It's more rewarding when you complete something you didn't feel like doing. Here's my second tip. Paint what you want to paint. And I know what you're thinking. Well, duh. I'm always gonna paint what I want to paint. But as a beginning artist, a beginning painter, that's not always the case. Maybe you have the urge to paint what you think people would think is cool. Maybe you think if I paint what other people like, I'll become a bigger artist, more people will like my art. But I get all the time people asking me, paint me this, paint me that. Nah, as you guys can see in the video going, I'm literally painting a bottle of ketchup. So if someone asks me to paint, oh, paint me a portrait of my dog for me. That's something I obviously don't paint, not in my wheelhouse. Maybe at some point I'll start doing animal portraits, but now's just not the time for that. But before we go any further, if you feel like you want to support my channel, then feel free to like or subscribe. That would be very helpful. Well, I'll say this. If it's worth your while, then paint it. If it's not, don't paint it. If you get joy out of it, paint it. If the cost of you painting it is being miserable the whole time and may actually make the painting not as well painted, then it's definitely not worth it. So be sure to paint things that you enjoy painting, or have someone know the type of things that you paint, and so that they know your preferences. And that's one of my best tips for even avoiding that first tip of not feeling like painting. Now I'm going to contradict myself right now. Here's my third tip. Paint what you don't want to paint. Yeah, I know. What is this guy talking about? What I mean by this is try to develop a skill that you don't already have. Now, this can mean simply adding a vibrant color to the mix. If you mainly paint in earth tones, try to mix that in there. Or paint a portrait if you're used to painting still lifes, try a landscape. That helps with finding your style. Maybe you like painting landscapes over portraits. And it also helps diversify your skills in painting. Maybe you don't want to be a one-trick pony, but a multiple-trick pony, I guess. And it's always good to know that your skills translate no matter what you paint. So it's good to get practice in different subjects just for the sake of being a better overall painter. But even something as simple as what I said earlier, just adding a vibrant color to the mix, or adding different textures just to test that out, different contrasts, complementary colors if you don't use those much. These little things can make a huge difference in your paintings in the long run. Just getting and collecting those skills over time. With that being said, you should want your next painting to be your best painting. You should always want to be innovating. You should always be wanting to get better. Now, what good is a stagnant artist? An artist that never gets better. And I know what you're thinking. Again, yeah, I'm telepathic. What if I just want to paint for fun? Well, I mean, you see the title of the video. Joke's on you. Really. But then again, why listen to the guy painting a bottle of ketchup and mustard? And that brings me to tip number, whatever tip we're on. Become a more consistent artist. Find your process. For example, every painting I do, I begin by toning my canvas. That's just applying a thin layer of burnt umber or brown to the canvas just to give it a tint so it's not just white. I draw out all my paintings the same way with some more burnt umber. I then begin painting the underlayers, going from dark to light usually, making the darkest marks first, building up to the brightest highlights. And not only does this provide consistency, but it also provides efficiency. I know going in what I'm gonna do, how I'm gonna do it. That oftentimes increases the time that it takes to complete the piece when you don't know what you're doing and you're going in blind. So I recall when I was first painting, it would take something like these two paintings here way longer than it should have taken, simply because I didn't have a format in which to lay out the painting. I would just go at it. But now that I have a process going for me, it's way more efficient, and the longer I have to sit there, the better, trust me. Well, that, and I couldn't even paint a bottle of mustard or ketchup that looked realistic in the first place, so add that to the equation. Thanks for watching.